Hello, Double GDP community. I am here on a overcast and chilly day in Brooklyn, New York, and it's good to be with you. Lots of exciting updates this week, and we'll, as usual, go through product, market, customer, and company in terms of just talking through them. So on the product side, the absolutely most exciting thing by far is that we onboarded a front-end engineer. And he has been just phenomenal in making a lot of great progress. So you will meet him later on this same playlist. We'll introduce Olivier, but very glad to have him on board, and it's already made a huge impact on our product velocity. So that's exciting. On the product front itself, we made a lot of progress in sort of getting a secondary dev environment. So a little bit of tech stuff there just to be able to have multiple developers working. And on the customer side, we focused on simplification and just having different roles see different tabs on the main screen, and a lot of work on getting photos up and running so that you can take a photo from the app. Mark will take us through a lot more detail on that on his update. And then we have a lot of progress this week on the front-end styling, just implementing a lot of the great designs that Ahmed has for us. But that is not complete in this sprint. So we don't want to actually talk about this too much, but just so you know that when you see Olivier's update, he'll take us through some of that progress and just show you the app in its designed form. And unfortunately not yet, it's still on a development environment. So some of that we'll follow up on next week. A lot of what we've done this week, though, is also think about the product planning that we want to do while Jay and I are at Nkwashi. And to that end, we spent a lot of time thinking through many of the use cases that Muya talked about in his visit last week. And we're going to have a lot of design and research time and sort of co-design time with a lot of the people in Nkwashi. But we want to have some design ideas that we can use as starting places. And so what we did is we mapped out a lot of those use cases from Muya, thinking about safety and security. How do we want to encourage regular payments from people who are paying down mortgages, or re-engage people who have waned from some of those? What kinds of ways can we use incentives and rewards to help keep people engaged in the application or in participation in the city itself? And how do you want to give feedback, or how can residents give feedback on guards themselves if they have a negative interaction with the guards, or even a positive interaction? How does the resident start giving that kind of feedback? So Ahmed will take us through a lot of those provocations, as he calls them, where it's really just with the idea of being able to meet somebody in Zambia, put something in front of them that gives a starting place, so that then we can hear their reactions to that. And sometimes it's just better to have give somebody something to react to rather than just sort of ask open-ended questions. So we want to have a toolkit of those that we can talk through. So a lot of exciting things there that I'm really looking forward to getting to Zambia and starting to hear how people react to some of that. On the market side, and just sort of thinking about that, we got Google Analytics implemented on our website, and so now are starting to have a little bit of tracking, and we'll start understanding sort of the flow on that website. And in that regard, we did a lot of research on privacy policy. Actually, this was based on a question that came from Nkwashi, and a meeting that I had last week, where one of the very first questions that our customer asked was about privacy and security. And so being so new, we had a lot of thoughts about keeping that data secure, but had not done a lot of research yet in terms of what is the legal frameworks, and how do we disclose that information to our customers. And of course, we want to do all of that and be very sort of forthcoming with our customers about what we're collecting. So I did a lot of research on the GDPR requirements and what what our legal obligations are, what are some of the best practices that other companies in this area are doing, and how have others phrased their privacy policies. And a lot of that is still sort of on the, we haven't yet published something on that, but what I did is I found an online generator that will create some compliance documents, and I used that as a starting place. And now I'm going to update that in our next sprint. I'll update that and make that available to our customers. But that also is something that we can respond with to Nkwashi with, and be able to sort of talk and get feedback with there. This also brought up that we need to have clarity around an end user license agreement and a cookie policy on our website. So just some good housekeeping around data and policies that we're starting to think about now and make sure we roll out very shortly. And Jay will mention also we had a couple of good conversations with partners. One is an inbound project that we're talking with one of our partners around, and they're sort of thinking through what it would take to do that. We had a good dinner with another potential customer as well, and then met with somebody who's in the construction management space to learn more about how they're thinking about development projects in Africa and what their business is like, and see if there are any ways that we might be able to work together there. So just good sort of development stuff, but a little bit future oriented in terms of how we're going through that. On the customer front, the most exciting news is that Jay and I are heading to Nkwashi next week. So we leave on Monday, and we're both super excited. The top priority for that is to make sure that we really understand the security needs of the guards. This will be our first opportunity really to talk with them and make sure that we're solving a really important need for them as well as the administrators and the residents. So it'll be a great opportunity to hear deeply about what their concerns are and how to make an app that's going to be useful to them. And then, of course, to deploy what we have as well. So we have an initial hypothesis, it's built, and I expect that we will be able to deploy that as in our first go-round and have, or in our first week there and have some feedback. To that end, Jay will take you through the schedule that we have planned out for the trip and just exactly when we're thinking about talking with the guards. We want to make sure that we're hearing them first. Then we have some strategies that we've developed for being able to get, what we want to do is be really start with the simplest possible thing, which is just helping them get people who have already registered through the app, with the app, through the gate as quickly as possible. And then once we know that we have that up and running, then we'll start thinking through how can we add to that and add some more complex use cases where they can actually register somebody who's never showed up before. So trying to be very deliberate about making sure that we're hearing them first, then that we're doing something very simple and creating some value from the get-go, and then graduating into some more advanced things that may also require a little bit more back and forth and training. In addition, on the trip, we also have a lot of time scheduled just to shadow with the administrative team and sort of follow, make sure that we're really understanding what they want and how they're doing their jobs today, how we can help them. Extended interviews with paying clients and future clients to understand sort of why they're considering coming to Nkwashi. And then bringing those provocations from Ahmed into actually sort of do some co-design sessions with the administrators and maybe some others as well to do that. To that end, we wanted to make sure that we're getting a lot of this great user research, even while recognizing that our top priority is going to be to deploy. And so we've reached out and are planning to bring a user research expert who's based in Africa and with whom Jay has worked before to the trip that can help bring a lot of other context. And so even if I am focused on deploying, we have some other people so that we're working on deploying absolutely as fast as possible, but have other people that can do research while that's going on. And we also have daily syncs set up with the team in the US. So every day we'll be learning something, sharing that back with our team in the US so that they can be working on a reverse cycle on the other 12 hours about trying to deploy things and trying and iterating very, very quickly. On the company side, I guess it's a little old news at this point, but we actually signed our contract with our development partner, our engineering development partner in Zambia, and that was what helped us get an engineer onboarded. But that actually took place this sprint, so I wanted to mention that, and that's very exciting. And in terms of our own project management, we've been using Range for our daily updates, and a real call out to the team and the product that they've put together. I think it's really been helpful in terms of our remote work to be able to do. They just have a very simple interface that you can come in and say what you're working on today and what you got done yesterday. And it's been very helpful as a way of keeping us all engaged and not having to be all at the same place at the same time for a stand-up. So that's been great. And they also have great integrations with Asana, with your Google Calendar, to prompt you on the things that you did. And I did a little bit of Zapier work to get it integrated with GitLab. So now every time there's a GitLab update or a GitLab commit, it actually shows up in the suggestions in the range toolbar. And as a little sidebar there, I had a great conversation with their CEO, and they've just been so responsive and very helpful in getting that set up. So thank you. And then finally, on the company front, we also are, we met with a couple of different potential CFO advisors. We're just realizing that there are a lot of sort of edge cases that Jay and I are navigating in terms of tax laws, international payments, tools that we might use for the company, and having somebody with whom we can bounce ideas around will be very helpful in that regard. So we met a couple of people that offer that kind of service, and we're impressed with both. And we're going to put that on hold for a couple of weeks while we go to Nkwashi, but we'll pick that up soon. And then just thinking through next steps, going to Zambia, we have a full team pre-mortem. This was something that we got as a suggestion last week to help think through how we will, imagine that we have that we don't get the app deployed while we're in Africa, and sort of go from that hypothesis to what went wrong in that scenario, and how can we adjust now to help prevent that. So I incorporated that into some of my early thinking in the week, and it's really helped clarify our plans and our calendar. Now what we're going to do is expose that sort of revised plan to the whole team, and we're all going to come at that tomorrow and try to poke holes in it and see if some additional things come up from there. And then rolling out all the front-end progress that we've made this week but haven't actually rolled out to the production version of the app will make a huge difference, and I think that'll be a big advantage when we roll it out to guards. It'll actually look a lot nicer, so that'll just be really exciting. And then more about this design provocations, and just thinking through what kind of design research we want to do while we're there. So we'll flesh out a few more use cases there. So that's on the roadmap for next week. And of course, feedback that we get from this update will be incorporated into our sprint plans next. That's it for today. Thank you guys, everyone, and looking forward to hearing feedback, questions, and comments. Thank you so much.